it's happening in New York, New Jersey, or Long Island. Hear about it with Joe Piscopo. Mornings, 6 to 10 on AM 970. The Answer.
Piscopo on the radio, 727, with Seeger and Gattulo and Morano and Debbie Duhame. And Simon Owen, correspondent for Fox News Radio. Always great to hear from Simon. Simon, good morning to you, my friend. How you doing?
Morning, Jay. Very well, thanks.
We always appreciate your valuable time, Simon Owen. And now, what has the president said about his phone call with the King of Saudi Arabia, sir?
Well, he's talked about the Saudis, and the Saudi king specifically, denying any involvement in the disappearance of this journalist, Jamal Khashoggi. And President Trump described the Saudi king's denial as very strong. And the president also speculated and floated the idea that, in his words, rogue killers may be responsible for this situation, which is still a situation that's shrouded in a certain amount of confusion and mystery. We're 2 weeks on now from Jamal Khashoggi's disappearance. He was seen entering the Saudi consulate in Istanbul, Turkey, and he wasn't seen leaving. And Turkish officials have alleged that he was killed by Saudi officials inside the consulate. The Saudis say those allegations are lies. But the other thing that President Trump has said, or that he's done, is he's dispatched his top diplomat, Mike Pompeo, the Secretary of State. He is in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia now. He's met with the Saudi king, and he's meeting later with the Saudi Crown Prince, Mohammed bin Salman, who is the de facto leader of Saudi Arabia these days. And he is the man whose policies Jamal Khashoggi, the journalist, had been critical of in his Washington Post columns.
Simon, are the Saudis reportedly they're going to say that this journalist was accidentally killed, that they did indeed accidentally kill the journalist? Is that what you're hearing?
Well, I can't confirm that, but certainly CNN reports that the Saudis are, yes, they're going to admit that Jamal Khashoggi did indeed die in the consulate, even though they've spent the past 2 weeks saying that he didn't. They're ready to say that this was a botched interrogation. The obvious holes in that story would be what we know of Saudi Arabia is that nothing really happens without the king or crown prince's approval. And also Turkish officials, according to reports in the New York Times and others, have said that shortly before Jamal Khashoggi entered the consulate, a Saudi assassination team, if you like, flew into Turkey, including someone with a bone saw and someone who is an autopsy expert. And if you are just going to talk to someone, you probably don't bring that kind of personnel in with you to do it. But the suggestion is, yes, that this is where the Saudis might go with this. And then the question for President Trump will be, is he willing to accept that explanation?
And do the Turks indeed have video of this, Simon?
Well, again, supposedly they say they do, but this is all being played out in the media, most frequently in Turkish media outlets that are close to the government, which suggests that there's probably leaks coming from the Turkish security services. Turkey has not made this allegation officially on the record. It's not come out and said, this is what we think has happened, but there's been this sort of steady drip of leaks from Turkish security sources detailing all sorts of supposed evidence, and this one of these leaks has said that yes, there is audio and video, but specifically it sounds like audio footage that proves the argument that Khashoggi was killed. But again, it's all unofficial, it's all off the record, and we don't know for sure. And the speculation along those lines has been that, you know, Turkey has its own patchy record with tolerating dissenters. And are the Turks potentially offering the Saudis a way out here and making it clear that they have leverage if they don't follow the rules? So it's a pretty messy and unpleasant situation. But ultimately, what we know officially is 2 weeks on, there's still no word on where this journalist is.
You know, you're such a great objective reporter, Simon. We appreciate that more than we could tell you, man. You're bringing in both sides. But Simon, really, a bone saw? How do you get a bone saw into the embassy? I mean, it's early in the morning. I don't want to be graphic or anything, but someone allegedly saw a bone saw come into the embassy?
Well, you probably come in on a private jet, and this is one of the many leaks that have been appearing in Turkish newspapers. They've got information to the point of getting security camera footage showing the faces of these people passing through the airport and as they arrived in the country, and then also spotting them leaving a few hours after Jamal Khashoggi disappeared. The arrival and the departure were pretty finely timed by the sounds of things. But yeah, that's the suggestion, and it's a question of as President Trump said yesterday, he described the king's denial as being very strong, and is he going to accept that? That'll be the question, I suspect, when it comes his way. But Jamal Khashoggi's family is putting the pressure on. They're asking for a transparent and international investigation into this. This man is a U.S. resident, not a U.S. national. Yeah. The U.S. has said that there will be strong punishment if needs be, but equally, we don't know whether President Trump is ready to go so far as, abandoning lucrative arms sales deals and that sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly, Simon Owen. And before we let you go, can you remind us why the Saudis weren't happy with this journalist to begin with?
Well, we don't know. You'd have to ask them, I suppose, to get the definitive answer. But, all we can deduce from this is that this is a man who used to be very close to the Saudi royal family, and then he started writing for the Washington Post. And about a year ago, he wrote an article saying he was beginning a self-imposed exile in the U.S. because he was fearful for his safety. And he said that he was going to speak up because others, people in prison in Saudi Arabia, are unable to speak up. So he said, I'm going to use my voice. And he went on to publish a series of articles critical of the Crown Prince's policies in the war in Yemen, of his jailing of women's rights activists, various other issues. Equally, to my knowledge, he never called for the overthrow of the regime or anything like that. I'm not sure you'd call it particularly dramatic criticism. So if this is simply a reaction to somebody critical of policies, and the Saudis went ahead and killed him, and we should say that the Saudis deny that, but it's going to deal a blow to the Crown Prince's efforts if this is proven, as he attempts to put himself forward as a reliable ally to Western countries.
We love chatting with you. Simon Owen, correspondent for Fox News Radio. Always appreciate you jumping on with us, Simon. Have a great day. Please come back soon, sir.
Thanks, Joe. Will do.
Thank you. Simon Owen right there from Fox News Radio. Fascinating story. You can't make this up. Reads like a novel. 877-970-2999.
I know how they got it in. Diplomatic pouch.
Diplomatic pouch.
They came in as,
with the bone saw.
Yeah.
Frankie Five Boroughs, a bone saw. It's like something from the crime family in New York.
Well, and you know what?
Don't forget the bone saw.
This is par for the course when it comes to how the Saudi royal family and the Saudi government handles interrogations. We've heard torture is routine from detainees to trial defendants, and a lot of others have said that the security forces' use of torture and all sorts of other ill treatment remains common and pretty widespread there. And those that are responsible for doing this sort of torture are never brought to justice.
Was it an electric saw? Like
bone saw. No, that's a hand saw. That's a hand saw.
That's
a hand saw.
Oh, Lord. Good morning.
Not that I've been involved in any of that.
Yeah, you know a lot about this bone saw situation. Yeah, that was another life, Al, for you.
Well,
Everybody knows this guy. No, everybody knows he can do a radio show. Joe Piscopo. Mornings, 6 to 10 on AM 970. The Answer.